Sometimes the world around us is stranger than fiction. I mean, who would have guessed that a sea cucumber's defense mechanism involved ejaculating its own guts? Or that a jury once turned to a Ouija board for guidance in a trial? And let's not forget about the strange and unexpected treasures hidden in archives. If you're ready for more bizarre and fascinating facts, stick around, because I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 oddly interesting facts that'll make you wonder. 25. The living root bridges of Meghalaya. In the hills of Meghalaya, India, people don't build bridges, they grow them. The Khasi and Jaintia tribes have perfected this method for centuries, using the roots of ficus trees to form bridges across rivers. These Jianqing tree bridges are guided by bamboo scaffolding, and over time the roots grow strong enough to handle heavy monsoons and last for hundreds of years. Besides helping people cross rivers, these living bridges also protect the environment by preventing soil erosion and absorbing carbon dioxide. They're a great example of how humans can work with nature, something modern cities could learn a lot from. 24. NASA once tried to generate electricity in space. In February 1996, NASA and the Italian Space Agency teamed up for a bold experiment, using a 12.4-mile-long tether to generate electricity in space. The plan was to drag the tether through Earth's magnetic field to create a current that could power the shuttle. Everything was on track as the tether deployed and the current steadily increased. However, right before the mission was completed, the tether suddenly snapped. The investigation found that tiny pinholes in the insulation allowed air to escape, creating plasma that short-circuited the tether and caused it to melt. The satellite payload drifted away, and the mission came to an abrupt end. 23. The island of the colorblind. On Pingalap Atoll, a tiny island in the Pacific, about 10% of the population is completely colorblind. These islanders have a rare condition called achromatopsia, which means they only see the world in black, white, and gray. This goes back to 1775, when a typhoon devastated the island. One of the survivors, the island's king, carried the gene for this condition, which spread as the community rebuilt. While achromatopsia is extremely rare worldwide, on Pingalap it's just part of everyday life. Though the condition comes with struggles like sensitivity to bright light, the locals have adapted. Some even use their enhanced night vision to catch fish by firelight. 22. The jury that consulted a Ouija board. In 1993, Harry and Nicola Fuller were found murdered in their Sussex home. Nicola had been shot 3 times, and Harry once in the back. Stephen Young, not the quarterback, was convicted of the double murder. But the case took a strange turn when it came out that the jurors had used an Ouija board during their deliberations. Apparently, they even spoke to one of the victims. According to them, the spirit told them that Stephen Young did it, even providing details about the crime. The seance ended with the spirit instructing the jurors to vote guilty tomorrow, which they did. When this unusual event came to light, the Court of Appeal overturned the conviction, which makes sense, right? Young had his new trial and was found guilty again, this time without any ghostly interference. 21. The Amazon's Dark Side. The Amazon rainforest spans over 2.3 million square miles and is home to millions of species of birds, plants, insects, and other life forms. Indigenous communities have lived here for generations, relying on the land for their survival. But in recent years, criminals have increasingly taken over parts of the rainforest, selling land illegally for activities like drug production, illegal logging, wildlife trafficking, and mining. It's become one of the most dangerous places in the world for those trying to protect it. In fact, 39 defenders of the Amazon were killed in 2022 alone. A particularly tragic case involved British journalist Dom Phillips and Brazilian indigenous expert Bruno Pereira. While working on a book about conservation in 2022, the two were murdered after a reporting trip to the Amazon, highlighting the ever-present dangers for anyone who stands against illegal activities in the region. Hey guys, just jumping in here real quick to tell you some exciting news. You know how you love watching our videos for amazing facts? Well, what if I told you that you could also have 500 amazing facts in the palm of your hand? That's right, we wrote a book. This one right here. What the facts are you talking about? And you can order it right now and have List 25 right in your library or on your coffee table or wherever it is you keep your books. It's available right now on Amazon, so click the link in the description and grab yourself and friends and family a copy today. 20. Your blood has an internal clock. What if a simple blood test could show how well your body is aging? Scientists have developed a way to measure how well your body is aging using a proteomic aging clock. This method looks at specific proteins in your blood to estimate your biological age. Not just how many years you've lived, but how your body's holding up. The blood clock has been tested on large populations in the UK, China, and Finland, showing remarkably accurate results. It can even help predict the risk of diseases like diabetes and heart disease, giving doctors an early heads up. By tracking how your body is aging from the inside, this tool could eventually lead to better health insights and even help lower the risk of early death. 19. Why your voice sounds awful on recordings. We've all had that moment, hearing your voice on a recording for the first time and cringing. I haven't. It's even worse when others are around and suddenly you start doubting everything. Is that really how I sound? Am I that annoying? It's enough to make anyone self-conscious. But here's the thing. You're the only one hearing your voice like that. When you speak, you're not hearing your voice the way others do. That's because the sound reaches your ears in two ways, through the air and by vibrating through your skull. This combination distorts what you hear, making it sound different from what everyone else hears. If you want to get a clearer sense of your actual voice without a recording, try covering your ears and speaking. It isolates the sound and gives you a better idea of how you really sound, cringe or not. I sound exactly the same. When I watch these videos back, I hear what I hear. I don't know. I'm just different, I guess. I hear me. I'm sorry. 18. A new panic alarm system is saving lives. A newly installed panic alarm system at Appalachia High School in Georgia was put to the test during a recent school shooting, and it likely saved lives. Just a week after being set up, the system was triggered as soon as the incident began. Teachers pressed a button on their ID badges, instantly alerting law enforcement. Officers arrived within minutes, stopping the shooter before things got worse. This system, developed by Sewage, sends the exact location of the emergency to the police and automatically locks down the school, helping everyone take cover. It's already being seen as a major step forward in school safety, and many are hoping it'll be used in more schools across the country to help prevent future tragedies. 17. The rise of inverse vaccines. Autoimmune diseases like celiac disease and multiple sclerosis occur when the immune system mistakenly targets the body's own cells. These conditions currently have no cure, and with research suggesting COVID-19 may increase the risk of autoimmune disorders, the need for effective treatments has become even more urgent. This is where inverse vaccines come into play. Unlike traditional vaccines that stimulate the immune system to fight off infections, inverse vaccines are designed to retrain the immune system to stop attacking the body's own proteins. Although still in the early research stages, inverse vaccines are showing great potential and could provide new hope for millions of people. 16. Sea cucumbers defend themselves by ejecting their guts from their rear ends. The animal kingdom is full of strange survival strategies, but the sea cucumber might take the prize for the weirdest. When threatened, it defends itself by shooting out sticky, gunky noodles from its rear end. These noodles are actually the sea cucumber's internal organs, called Cuvierian organs, and they're surprisingly effective. These stringy innards tangle up predators, and they're made of protein similar to spider silk, making them super sticky and hard to escape. In some cases, this odd defense can even kill the attacker. 15. Isaac Newton believed toad vomit could ward off the plague. Despite being one of the greatest scientific minds, Sir Isaac Newton had some odd ideas about medicine. In his unpublished notes, Newton suggested that powdered toad vomit might help fight off the plague. His recipe? Suspend a toad by its legs over a chimney for 3 days until it vomits earth and insects. Then combine the powdered remains with other ingredients to create lozenges. According to Newton, wearing these lozenges around the affected area should draw out the poison and fend off the disease. This unusual theory surfaced in 2020 when a manuscript containing these notes was auctioned off for $81,000. 14. The artist who only creates in his sleep. Lee Hadwin is a very unique guy. His artistic talent only appears when he's asleep. As a child, Hadwin would scribble on the walls while sleepwalking. But things took a strange turn when, at 15, he started producing detailed drawings. including 3 small portraits of Marilyn Monroe, all while unconscious. What's even more remarkable is that Hadwin claims he has no artistic skill when he's awake. His sleep-created artwork has gained attention, with some of his pieces selling for thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hadwin also uses his talent to give back, donating a portion of his sales to charities like Amnesty International. 13. Treadmills started out as a prison punishment. Treadmills might be a popular fitness tool today, but they weren't originally designed for exercise. Back in 1818, they were invented to punish prisoners. In English prisons, inmates were forced to walk on them for hours, with up to 24 prisoners using a single machine at once. By 1822, treadmills had made their way into American prisons too, but over time people began to question their value. The machines didn't teach prisoners useful skills, and they were dangerous. About 1 prisoner a week died from using them in England. By the late 1800s, treadmills had mostly disappeared. Then, in 1913, they reappeared in a new form, as exercise equipment. So, if you've ever felt tortured by a treadmill workout, that all makes sense now, doesn't it? 12. Human sewage is a gold mine. Nobody likes thinking about sewage, but for some scientists, it's a gold mine. Literally. Sewage sludge, the leftover goop from treated storm runoff, toilet water, and industrial waste, contains more than just unwanted metals. In fact, it's packed with valuable ones too. Researchers found that the sludge from a city of 1 million people could hold between $8 and $13 million worth of metals. Beyond gold, samples from across the US also revealed silver, titanium, copper, and even rarer metals like palladium. So just how does all that treasure end up in the sewers? Thankfully, it's not from anything we eat. It mostly comes from industrial processes. Metals used in mining, electronics, jewelry making, and automotive manufacturing get washed away and settle in the sludge. 11. Wales hosts the World Bog Snorkeling Championship. One of the world's most bizarre sporting events takes place in Wales every August, the World Bog Snorkeling Championships. Held in the Wynreed Bog near the town of Llannorfyd, Wales, the competition sees participants don snorkels and flippers to swim 2 lengths of a 60-yard trench through muddy bog water. But here's the twist. Traditional swimming strokes like front crawl or the breaststroke aren't allowed. Competitors must rely mainly on their flippers, though doggy paddle is acceptable. While some participants stick to wetsuits, others go all out with wacky costumes, from pantomime horses to giant grapes. The current record, set by Neil Rudder in 2023, is an impressive 1 minute and 12.34 seconds. 10. Some mice can recognize themselves in a mirror. The mirror test is a classic experiment used to determine whether animals can recognize themselves, showing a higher level of self-awareness. The idea is simple. A mark is placed on an animal's forehead. If the animal looks in a mirror, sees the mark, and touches its own forehead instead of the reflection, it means they recognize themselves. Only a few species, like some primates, elephants, and dolphins, have passed this test. In 2023, mice joined that exclusive group. Researchers placed white ink on the foreheads of black mice, and those familiar with mirrors spent extra time grooming their marked heads in front of their reflection. Interestingly enough, the behavior only occurred if the mice had experience with mirrors or had socialized with similar-looking mice. 9. Blockages could make you hear double. We've all heard of seeing double, but have you ever heard of hearing double? The audio condition known as diplocasis causes a person to perceive sound differently in each ear. For instance, when a sound is made, one ear may hear the correct pitch, while the other ear perceives it as slightly higher or lower. For some, this unsettling effect fades with time. For others, it may be permanent. Causes can include ear infections, exposure to loud noises, or other damage. In some cases, though, it's the result of something more temporary, like a clogged sinus or a big buildup of earwax. These cases are usually easier to fix once the blockage is removed. 8. War led to the rebranding of the German Shepherd. German Shepherd dogs played important roles during both world wars, but their name caused some controversy as Germany was the enemy. As a result, the breed's name underwent changes. In 1917, the American Kennel Club dropped German from the name entirely. Meanwhile, the British opted for the name Alsatian, referencing a region in France that had once been under German control. The breed's original name wasn't restored until 1977, when it officially returned to German Shepherd. So, what do you call them? 7. In Beijing, you can buy dog testicles on a stick. Since I'm on the subject of dogs, did you know that in Beijing, street vendors sell dog testicles on a stick? It might sound shocking, but in traditional Chinese medicine, these unusual snacks are thought to promote kidney health. They are believed to be rich in qi, the body's vital energy. Dogs are also thought to have a strong connection to the kidney meridian, which helps regulate water and electrolyte balance. 6. 2 Dutch shipwrecks disappeared from the Java Sea. The waters around Southeast Asia, especially near Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, are full of shipwrecks from World War II, when the Allies and Japan fought intense battles. One of the key battles was the Battle of the Java Sea, led by the Dutch on February 27, 1942. 14 ships were involved, but by the end, only 2 survived. In 2002, divers located the wrecks of these lost ships, but in 2016, 2 of the Dutch shipwrecks mysteriously disappeared, leaving only imprints on the seabed where they used to be. While illegal salvaging has been an issue in the area, experts say it's unlikely these massive ships were removed without anyone noticing, given the depth and equipment required. To this day, no one really knows what happened to them. 5. We've got weird things stored in archives. When you think of libraries and archives, books and documents are part of the first things that come to mind. Libraries typically handle book lending, while archives focus on preserving historical records. However, some of these institutions hold items far more unusual than books and papers. Take Texas A&M's Cushing Memorial Library and Archives, for example. Among its collection are Ku Klux Klan robes and hoods, including those embroidered with the names of individuals tied to the university. One such figure is Dana X. Bible, who served as head football coach between 1917 and 1918, and again from 1919 to 1928. He also held the role of head basketball coach during most of that period. David Carlson, the library's dean, stresses that Texas A&M doesn't try to hide this part of its history. According to him, quote, "Mistakes of the past are things we can learn from. If we bury them, we lose the chance to grow from them." 4. Cops accidentally donated drugs to a thrift store. In 2022, police officers in Berthold, North Dakota accidentally donated a bag of cannabis to a local thrift store. The cannabis, which had been evidence from a recently closed case, was supposed to be destroyed. Instead, it was mistakenly packed with toys and clothes intended for the Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch, a Christian organization that runs 10 thrift stores in the area. Recreational cannabis is illegal in North Dakota, so when an employee sorting through the donations found the weed, they immediately contacted the Ward County Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department secured the cannabis and returned it to the Berthold police, who made sure it was disposed of properly the second time. 3. A man died after eating too much licorice. For some people, COVID wasn't the worst thing that happened in 2019. One 54-year-old man from Massachusetts, who appeared healthy on the surface, he worked a demanding construction job, walked his dog regularly, and had no history of heart problems, died from eating too much black licorice. He'd always been a fan of red licorice, but at some point he switched and started eating as much as 2 large bags a day. One day in January 2019, while at a McDonald's, he suddenly started having full-body shakes and collapsed. First responders performed CPR and rushed him to the hospital, where he was put on a ventilator in the cardiac ICU. Sadly, he didn't make it. The culprit? Glyceric acid. The compound in black licorice can lower potassium levels and lead to heart failure. The man's excessive licorice habit caused a significant drop in his potassium, ultimately leading to cardiac arrest. 2. The Swiss have annual cow fights in the Alps. The European Alps are known for their stunning beauty, snowy peaks, busy ski resorts, and charming alpine towns. But beneath all that charm, the Alps have their fair share of odd and sometimes downright bizarre traditions. One such tradition is found in the Swiss region of Valais, where they hold the Combat des Reines, or queen fights, a cow fighting competition. Yes, cow fights. Farmers bring their strongest cows to battle it out, with plenty of betting and bragging rights on the line. The stakes are high, and the winners get to compete in the grand finals held every year at the Roman Amphitheater in Martigny. The event runs from March to October outside of the busy ski season, and according to those in the know, it's a sight you really have to see to believe. 1. What makes a creep? In 2016, a group of psychologists set out to answer that very question. They wanted to identify traits that make people seem unsettling or weird. To get a better idea, they interviewed 1,342 volunteers and asked them what gives them the creeps when meeting a stranger. Some of the results were surprising. Sure, people felt creeped out when there was a sense of physical danger or when the person in question was a clown or looked disheveled. But there were some more unexpected findings too. People who collect dolls, insects, or reptiles made the list, as did bird watchers. Other behaviors like laughing at odd times, smiling in a strange way, or frequently licking your lips also set off red flags for participants. The study confirmed that creepiness isn't just about fear, it's also about anything that feels off or out of place. And that's all I have for you today. If today's list hits all the right spots, you'll definitely want to check out our video on 25 foods then versus now, how they've changed over time. From caviar's unexpected uses to the surprising history of 7-Up as an antidepressant, and even the fact that almonds had to be made less poisonous before we could eat them, there is so much to discover. So to go to that video now, click on this link right here, and I'll catch you next time.